I assume most of you here are familiar with the story of how the Foundry came to be, and I'm not going to spend 15 minutes recounting the, angry living room moments and so on and so forth. But shortly after that, Chuck came to Matt, the evening worship guy, and myself, and the band we were in, and sat down and said, how would you guys like a chance to lead worship? And that was interesting for me. The thought that the bassist, not the vocalist, not the person who's up front, and I don't want to use the word flashy because I know obviously that doesn't really apply to Jason, but the person who's supposed to have the attention and the command of the moment, and give us a chance. Matt took that chance in the evenings, and I took the chance in the morning, and it was a strange chance, and the other members of the band at that point had we'll just call it prior obligations to other churches, which more or less left, at the time it was Chuck and I doing morning worship. And it was a very different experience than what we have here today. We went through several changes. People came in, people went out, and it took us some time before we, became this band that you see up here. But the thing is, he gave me a chance, not just to, be the guy, in the corner going thump, 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 but to actually have input. And then all the times I get up and I hear him say, well, you've already preached my message for me, and we, to say we conspire on what to play versus what to say would be giving a lot of credit. More or less, I know, okay, I'm going to be talking from Ephesians for a couple months. Okay. And yet the Spirit still works to bring together the music, point out the music that is optimal and appropriate. And, shortly after the Foundry and Garden City merged, our previous treasurer, was tired of the tired of the duty. So Chuck put out an open call if anybody was interested, and I guess, well, I'll step up until you find somebody, and that was 4 years ago. But the thought of a church giving somebody who was less than 30 not only a voice in terms of worship, something, but also to trust that I'm going to have the best financial interests of this body and move it forward. That's a lot of responsibility, and that's responsibility that had I stayed at my previous church, I might not have seen until my 50s or 60s, as it went through the pecking order of this person was here longer than you, and this person was here longer than you, and but he trusted us, a bunch of 20 30-somethings to step forward and to lead and to learn how to lead. And that's the kind of experience, both in terms of experience doing something and the actual experience of it, that many of us wouldn't have gotten at our previous churches. We would never have been able to do this, and for that, I'm eternally grateful.
I'd like to say about Chuck. I've been here a long time. I've probably been here since I became a Christian. I've gone through several pastors, each one bringing. Pastor Brandon brought a different talent. Pastor Gordon brought his own talent, and Chuck brought a unique talent. A lot of pastors are very good spiritually, giving lectures, talks, and bringing the people together spiritually. Chuck has two things. He does that, and he's also a great administrator. Many people, probably a lot of people don't know, this church at one time was on the verge of closing. And I was on the board and didn't really want to close the church, but Chuck had some unique ideas. And one of those unique ideas was bringing a lot of young people in the church. Our church is at the point of being pretty old. I mean, I guess I'm probably the oldest guy here. He said he's 30 years, and I'm 40, I'm married. So, but Chuck brought a lot of good ideas, and sometimes he comes across to me and says, oh, the church really is not, we don't have a lot of people coming here. And I always have to remind him that he's done so much outside of the church, which, we tend as leaders to just see how many people we have in the church. We don't look at how many lives that we actually touch outside the church. And not one of you probably know when you say something to somebody how you're touching their lives. And Chuck's a great administrator, and he has been willing to come on, stay at this church with really virtually no salary, and support housing and hospitalization. But a lot of pastors would not do that, and I really admire him for that. Joy's been great. A lot of things that I admire him is how he has raised his children. Those two children of his would have never got the chances that they have now.
Yeah, praise God.
They're turning out to be two fine young women, and they're going to be very talented, both of them. But Chuck's he's touched my life in that way. I'm kind of a lone person. I don't kind of mingle with the leaders too much, but I'm at meetings and I put my insight when I see it. But I'm really proud of this church now that we have a lot of the young people, because that is our future generation. A lot of churches think they want to stay with the older elders and this and that, and the churches are going to grow. We don't have a whole lot of money, but I think we have a whole lot of talent. So I think Chuck's been a blessing, and he's the pastor for our church at this time.
What can I say about that guy? PC, we have gone through many trips, camps, mission teams, all the way down to Delaware doing magazines, and you're the best. When I think about when I first came here, I didn't have really much of a family. My family was up in Spring City, I was down here, and you took me under your wing. Something about PC, when he first meets you, he always asks you a question. And he just asked, how did I come here? And I said, a couple friends from college. And ever since the first time we met, you've become my dad. And when I started to really come down here, you gave me a position of being the grunt and moving stuff around, and you let me rearrange this room about 500 times, depending on what event we were doing. And I'm always grateful for that. And then when the two churches merged, you put me in a position of leadership. And that was the first time somebody had ever given me permission to lead something. And then helping me work with the kids' programs, all the stuff you helped me with. You're a phenomenal man. You have raised an amazing family. You're my adopted family. Every time you call me up, sometimes you call me in the middle of a lunch rush, but it's those phone calls that cheer me up when I'm having one of those rough days. You always have a kind word or something to just make the day. If it's like a 12-hour day, I see a text from PC or a Facebook update from PC. And it cheers me up knowing that there's somebody out there that cares. You've provided a lot for me with the stuff in with my apartment and encouraging me when I'm having those rough days. And you're just a blessing to all of us here. And it is a privilege and honor to serve with you. You're not just a friend to me or a mentor, you're my dad. And your kids are just phenomenal. I can see they're going to be going, when they go off to college, they're going to be, who knows, they're going to be the best. And your wife's going to be an exceptional writer. I mean, Joy has encouraged me to eat vegetables now, when it's normally junk food. By the way, there's a mother up in Spring City that's grateful for that. But it's all those the little things you do that make this church who it is. How you play a role in everyone's life, from sound to video to just your presence. You encourage us a lot, and I'm always thankful for you.
So I don't always know what I'm doing up here. It's just the way it is. I'm the guy in the back that usually runs the sound, does the video. I do good behind a wall where nobody sees me. That hasn't changed in and of itself, but I've been given the opportunity by Chuck to share my heart through music, to share my talents and my knowledge through leadership. Never had that opportunity before. My work demands a lot of my time, and I could see where I was going down the road where, as Chuck had experienced in his, past, careers, that the corporate world sucks you in, takes over your life, and that becomes who you are. And that's not who I want to be. These days it's a little difficult because they try to suck you in, but I'm grateful that I was able to move across the street, because even on those days where I'm working hard in my office, I can look across the street and that's where my heart is. I didn't have that before I started here. I didn't have a direction of leadership, a direction of, I didn't know where my heart should take me. I guess we've been here for about 5 years now. It boggles my mind because it really doesn't seem like that long. It's been such a fantastic ride. Where I've come from, all the positions were filled. Everyone knew what their job was, and I was just kind of the guy that was just there going along for the ride. I came here, I knew TJ and Buddy that were in the band. We came to see them one New Year's Eve just to see the band. But, Chuck's words inspired me. They really did. Specifically, we don't know all the answers. I don't know the answers. But, it was his teachings that made me realize that's okay. Nobody does. We're not meant to. But if we can give that testimony through our lives, through service, through love, there's no stopping us. So it's that lesson that I'm proud of here.